Here. So here we're with Bill Coulter. So I'm going to hand the floor over to him. So Bill, tell us a little about your career in Fisher Body and the models that you built.
Well, I grew up a farm boy
Where?
on a farm out in Dayton County,
Okay. Ohio.
between Yellow Springs, Clifton, and Seabury.
Okay.
I was milked cows, fed livestock, worked in the fields, picked corn, tomatoes, dug up potatoes.
Family business, right?
And when I got to a certain age, I got to mow about 3.5 acres of grass every week. So for one of my back had to be operated on, I pretty much took care of all and future growth out of things.
Okay.
As far as getting into the Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild, I had a couple of buddies. We were in school together, 4-H together. We were all farm kids. One boy's dad was an engineer, and somehow he'd gotten Al interested in giving it a try. When Al got along to a certain point, he invited us over to see what he was doing, and one thing led to another.
How old were you at the time? If you remember.
Well, when I graduated from high school in '59, I was 17.
So when did you actually get into these? 16? Okay. So 16 is the opener. So this is your first one?
The dark blue.
The dark blue one. Okay, so 1957. Correct. Tell us a little bit about these models. How did they do? What's the material? Well, what can you remember? What can you remember from that? First of all, I know when I picked them up, they're very heavy. So do you remember the material?
Well, I was explaining to George
Yes.
earlier today that at the time, the route to go was starting off with a wood block, building the buck out of
Clay?
clay,
Right.
and just the challenge of matching one side to the other.
To keep them
And
symmetrical.
I think you
Correct.
find it most minor.
Somewhat symmetrical. Correct.
When I have been talking to people about, well, how am I going to reproduce this? And my dad had worked for Millie Spoon Company in Yellow Springs, and in the Second World War, and they were making airplane propellers. And in testing these things, they would cast stuff in hydrofoil plastic.
Okay.
If you pick one of those up, you'll realize it weighs about 150 pounds.
They're very heavy. They're very, very heavy. That's why I didn't know what the material was. So that's hydrocal plastic. Okay. Plaster. Okay. So now.
So I built a model, built a box, mounted the buck in the floor of the box, poured a rubber mold. All this was new to me. I mean, other than playing with
Right.
Play-Doh as a kid,
Right.
it was about the extent of things. And I finally did get to where I could try casting a body.
So you cast it. Were you successful, or not?
Well, depends on how you term success.
Well, what I mean is this it? Is this the one that you cast, or did you have a failure and have to do it a second time?
Well, there were 3 or 4.
So it took 3 or 4
Yeah.
attempts. Okay.
But, as you can see, I did get one complete one.
Right.
I don't remember. I think the paint is something I bought at a
Hardware
farm
store.
tractor store.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because you can get a lot of different colors for farm tractors in these places. What dark blue that was, I don't know.
Right.
But I did get to get some experience with drill press, lathe, all things I did work with before. I did make some of the parts out of aluminum.
Did you do this in your home or another person's house?
I could do part of it in the basement at home. I did, even though I didn't have time in my schedule at school. I did talk them into letting me have a study hour
Oh, and do.
where I could go down to the shop and do this, which is what I
So
did.
you were doing something constructive. You were just playing, reading or something.
I was sleeping for 6
I was sleeping, exactly.
One of my buddies that was also a young man by the name of Bill Coulter, his dad was an engineer at NCI. So in his garage, he had a lathe. So he made that necessity to me when I loaded it. So I had a lathe and a drill press at school, a lathe and a drill press attachments, and the other hand.
So all these tools were at your disposal, even though you didn't own any of them, which was really beneficial. So do you remember how many hours, roughly?
When you're 15 years old,
Hundreds?
you know,
Who's counting?
I
You
was
just
counting, exactly.
I
You're
would
living
say
it.
that there were some late nights,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about, right?
I did have enough of a positive experience that year one led to year two.
Right. Well, you completed 3 of them.
Right.
Now, these are the only 3 you
Well,
ever
you know
built.
what they say about bad habits. Hard to break.
Well, I know that the tires come from General Motors.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you actually spun these on the lathe, so
Yes, I
as I
did.
could see. So are all these made of the same plaster?
The first two.
The first 2. And is the red one? What is that one?
It was carved out of wood.
Carved out of wood. Okay. Out of the 3 of them, is there a favorite?
I get it.
Or do you like them all?
Oh, I wouldn't want to part with them.
No, I don't mean selling them, but I'm just saying certain. I know when I talk to other guildsmen, they say I really like this one. Or this one, I'm not too crazy about. So that's why I'm asking if you have a favorite out of the 3.
Well, I've become somewhat of a recognized spokesman for the model car hobby.
I know that.
I write books. I just started my own magazine called ATS. on the Thames
Which
Scale.
leads me to your career after the guild. Okay, so after this, what did you
Well,
go
when
into?
I was 8 years old, I decided I wanted to go to Detroit. And in the course of class, when I was in high school, I was fortunate enough to have contact with a very well-known industrial designer at the time, Reed Buemeister.
Reed Beemeister, I know him well.
And Reed, of course, he's gone now. But I did a couple of years ago to get to meet his son. And of course, it was
Tucker.
not
Tucker
unusual
Beemeister.
to realize, oh, that's right, your dad worked for your first name's Tucker, right? So, anyway, we got to be friends with that. And he said, if this is what you really want to pursue, and he said, my recommendation is that you look at the top 10 colleges that offer industrial design. Well, I looked at Ohio State, I looked at UB, I looked at the closest respectable college with industrial design that there was Cincinnati. I didn't even look at it further. Because of some circumstances beyond my control, I had to work a year between high school and college, which was really
You're not alone.
didn't turn out bad.
I know, you're not alone. A lot of people did that.
Because you see, I had started school a year early. Back then, in the 40s, you started school whenever your parents took you to school. I was only a little over 5 years old.
Okay.
So by working that year, I actually caught back
Oh, too,
up
right.
the age group that I should have been. For whatever reason, I had a principal to this day, he's dead and gone, but he'd taken a dislike to me so much. I am kind of a wise guy. I like to joke around.
Not you.
Yes. Anyway, I kept waiting for the paperwork to come, sign off, saying what's the first day of classes and so forth. Well, it got closer and closer and closer. So I get on the phone and call the VAAP building, and the secretary says, you may want to talk to the dean. So, Anyway, great. He said, Bill, any chance we can get you and your folks to come down and spend the day? Okay, so we did. And we went in his office and sat down and said, well, here's the situation. So I have no doubt that you're full of confidence. We wouldn't have this conversation. But your principal wrote us a stinging letter about how you weren't fit material for the college. And I was stunned, but I thought, no point. I mean, I even went to church with him. So I mean, I saw him every Sunday. So I thought there was no point getting into it with him because
he's already made up his mind. Right.
So the dean said, here's the best deal I can make you. If something opens up between now and the first day, he said, I want you to go home today, pack your bag, gas up your car, and be ready for a phone call. I want you down here on next month. He said, if that doesn't happen, you will know you're already the first approved for the program for next year. It's just the way it happened. Which actually, it all worked out fine. And I would have to say, not just because you gentlemen are here and have the camera over, my 3 years of experience with Fisher Body Craftsman's Guild was a game changer. A lot of the things that I had to learn how to do with these models, I began and applying it to my other models. And if you'd have told me 50 years ago, well, Coulter, you do know you're going to be working for yourself for the last 30 years, and you're going to be mainly doing model car, because they still write for other magazines.
Correct.
At one time, I had written for every model magazine on the globe, even Europe and Germany. But the last 30 years, I decided to branch out because I couldn't wait till publication took an article to start something else.
So that's why you would self-publish?
That's what started it. I'm what's known as the cornucopia of monocore material. I mean, the only thing that had slowed me down was my age and my health.
All in your mind.
Somebody said, well, it's just like I got started again with, after 15 years, I got started again with Still Alive. The previous editor, well, I don't know why, hated my guts and didn't want anything to do with it. That's fine. I got my own
Move on.
responsibility.
Move on.
Well, when the new editor came in, I ran into him at the show in Toledo, and he said, well, when are you going to send me some material? You know my history. So he said, when you get home, call me and give me some ideas. So when I got home, I called him, and I gave him 6 ideas. I want all of them. So, about 6 weeks later, I called him and I said, well, I'm ready. He said, what do you mean you're ready? He said, I have the 6 articles. You're kidding. You've already done some. Well, you said you wanted them. So, that still hasn't been plentiful enough that I don't continue doing my own work.
Right, but all I'm coming down to is that you're not retired. You'll continue to write.
Well, I don't go to a regular job every day unless you call getting out of bed, scrubbing your teeth, and going to the kitchen to get a cup of coffee, and I'm at work.
It's called being self-employed. We're both self-employed,
Yes.
So we know.
Yes,
We know.
I tell people I've worked for some tough people in my life. Presently, I'm working for the toughest boss I ever had.
Right.
He said, you work for yourself. I said, right, you get the plan. And there is no blaming it on anybody else. There is no, I'll do that tomorrow. There are no excuses. I mean, you do it.
Either that or you're lying to the guy in the river. Right?
He doesn't like that very much.
Well, anyway, like I said, I'm just interested in seeing that if you're still retired, if you're retired, to continue. It doesn't look like you are going to retire. Continue to do this.
I made God a deal. You keep me healthy for a while longer. So I can continue to crank out work. I want to work at it for a lot longer because I got so many projects.
Don't stop. Don't stop.
Yep.
Anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you so much.